All right, let's talk about SQL. It's the universal language for having a conversation with data. And honestly, in a world that runs on information, knowing SQL is kind of like having a superpower. So let's figure out how to use it.
Just think about it for a second. The world is absolutely swimming in data. Companies are collecting millions, sometimes billions of records every single day. So, how do you find that one specific answer you're looking for? How do you cut through all that noise to find the signal? Well, that is the exact problem SQL was built to solve.
So what is SQL, really? Here's the best way to think about it. Imagine a database is a gigantic, perfectly organized library. You wouldn't just wander the aisles for hours, right? No, you'd walk up to the librarian and ask a very specific question. SQL is the language you use to talk to that librarian. It lets you ask for exactly what you need, and the database brings it right to you. Simple as that.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover why you even need to speak SQL in the first place. Then, we'll get into how data gets organized. After that, the really fun part, we'll start asking questions, from the super simple stuff to some that give us deeper insights. And finally, we'll wrap up with your new SQL toolkit.
Okay, first up, why even bother learning this language? Well, because SQL is the bridge. It's what takes you from a mountain of messy, raw data to clear, actionable answers you can actually use.
And you might be thinking, hey, why can't I just use a spreadsheet? And look, spreadsheets are great for small tasks. But have you ever tried to open one with a million rows? They just grind to a halt. Databases, on the other hand, are built for this. They're structured, they are incredibly fast, and they are designed to handle really complex questions with ease.
All right, before we can find anything, we need a place to put it all. That brings us to how a database is structured. Let's stick with our library analogy. This is like building the bookshelves before we can even think about putting books on them.
The main building block of any database is called a table. And honestly, if you've ever used a spreadsheet, you basically already get it. The columns are your categories or fields, things like name or age. And each row is a single complete entry or record, like one person or one product.
So how do we build one? We use the create table command. Let's break it down with this James Bond example. First, you literally just say create table and give it a name, in this case, Bond. Then, inside the parentheses, you define your columns. We've got an ID, a title, and box office earnings. And you'll notice for each column, we're also saying what kind of data is going to go in there.
And that's where data types are so important. They make sure the data is consistent. The most common ones you'll see are int for whole numbers, like a year, varchar for text, that number just tells you the max length, decimal for numbers with, well, decimals, and date for dates. Getting this right from the start is absolutely crucial for keeping your data clean.
Now on top of that, you can add some rules, and they're called constraints. A primary key, for example, is like a unique ID number for every single row. No duplicates allowed, ever. And not null is exactly what it sounds like. It means this field can't be left empty. Think of these rules as the guardians of your data, making sure everything stays accurate.
Okay, our bookshelf is built, our data has rules.
Now for the really cool part, asking questions and getting answers. This is where SQL really starts to feel like magic.
The most basic command in all of SQL is select. If you just want to see everything inside a table, you write select star from and then the table's name. That little star is just a wildcard, a shortcut for all columns. So this query is literally saying, hey, select everything from the player table. And here's what you get back. The database just gives you the whole thing, every column, every row, exactly what we asked for. That was our first conversation with the data. Pretty easy, right? But let's be real. Seeing everything is almost never what you actually want. It's too much information. Usually, you're hunting for something specific. So what if you want to narrow things down and only see the rows that match exactly what you're looking for? For that, we use the where clause. Think of it as your filter. In this example, we're not selecting everything. We're just asking for the player's name, weight, and height. Then we add the condition, where the weight is greater than 190 and the height is also greater than 190. Only the players who meet both of those conditions will show up. So remember, where is how you get specific.
Okay, so retrieving data is one thing, but SQL's real power, its real genius, is in how it lets you summarize, calculate, and connect information to find insights you'd never see just by looking at the raw data. So let's ask a much smarter question. Let's say we have a list of every billionaire in the world. We don't just want a list of names. We want to know how many are there in each industry. A simple select and where can't answer that. We need to start grouping our data.
And this is how we do it. Now, this query looks a little longer, but it's totally logical. We select the industry, and then we use count to count the people. We also rename that new column to billionaire count, just to make it clearer. But the real magic is group by industry. That tells SQL, first, put everyone into buckets based on their industry, then count them up. The order by at the end just puts the biggest industries at the top of our list.
And boom, just like that. With one single query, we took a massive list of individuals and turned it into a clear, simple insight. We can immediately see finance and investments is at the top. This is the power of aggregation, and it's a secret behind pretty much every business dashboard you've ever seen.
Okay, one more common real-world challenge. Very often, the information you need is split across different tables. For instance, maybe we have one table with player names and another table with their performance ratings. Both tables have a player ID, but how do we actually connect a player's name from one table to their rating in the other?
The answer is the join. An inner join is like building a bridge between two tables using a column they both share. So here, we're joining our player table, which we've given a short nickname of P, with our attributes table, which we're calling A. The bridge is built on that shared player_API ID. This lets us grab the name from the P table and the rating from the A table and see them together in one result.
So we have covered a ton of ground here, but the key thing is the power to ask these questions and get these answers is now in your hands.
Let's just do a quick recap of your core SQL toolkit. You now know how to create table to give your data a home. You know how to use select and from to get it, where to filter it, group by to summarize it, and join to connect it all together. These few commands are the foundation of almost everything you'll ever do in SQL.
You know, one of the sources we looked at for this explainer put it perfectly. They said, by the time we are finished, you'll be wondering what all the fuss was about. And I hope you're starting to feel that now. SQL might look intimidating from the outside, but at its heart, it's logical, it's powerful, and it's actually pretty straightforward.
So we'll leave you with this. You now have the key. You have the ability to unlock answers from massive amounts of data. You know the language. The only question left is, what secrets are you going to ask the world's data to reveal?